Take some pictures.
Yeah, for sure. There's nothing governmental. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Hi, I'm Floyd. Okay, so mycelium grows in summer usually, so it's quite warm, you know. They grow in the woods, they grow in the soil, depending on the species. From the summer to the autumn. So in the summer it's growing in the woods. Autumn you have the cold. And there are other stimulus which triggers the fructification. It's exactly what happens when the mycelium goes to the surface of the wood. The quantity of oxygen will rise like hell, because you know when he's into the wood, he's breathing, so he's putting out CO2, breathing the little oxygen you might find into the wood, which is almost nothing. So the CO2 level is extremely high, and when you touch the border, super high oxygen, light, cold, let's do a mushroom.
Mushrooms, the fruit of fungi, grow in many different ways. The mushrooms that we eat are only a fraction of the entire kingdom. Of the edible ones, for gourmet purposes, we can group them into two categories, saprotrophic and mycorrhizal.
But it's a kind of mushroom that where its body, the fungal body, grows together with the roots of trees. So the technical term for that is mycorrhizal.
We can only grow saprotrophic mushrooms that thrive by digesting dead matter like soil, dead wood, straw, etc., meaning that we can detach them from the forest and bring them closer to us.
But yeah, I liked it because I had to learn so many things, you know. I had to learn to grow a lab, you know.
Floyd uses 4 major areas with support in a haphazard grown space.
But mushroom is quite cool to grow. And of our billion spores, there's maybe one survive. All the others are killed, eaten, destroyed for whatever the way. And one survived. Can you imagine? I do 1 million bags to maybe sell one in the market tomorrow? Fuck off. Yeah. So you have to optimize your stuff, you know, to give a chance to your mushrooms. So that's the point, you know. Yeah. Of course, in the nature, it's continuous fight in the nature. Everybody's eating everybody, you know. Mm-hmm. And it happens, but we speak about statistics, you know. Mm-hmm. It's 1 over millions. In a lab, you have one genetic, one clone. That's it. It's the only one, and you have only one chance. So it's like Olympics, you know. If you want your guy win on the racing, you just have to kill all the other guys. If you want 100% sure your guy survive. Okay, so the process of growing mushrooms, we start from mycelium. We grow the mycelium, and when the mycelium is ready to fruit, we put in the fruiting place, which is colder. We have to simulate the autumn. It's exactly what you do. We grow the mycelium in the dark, 20 to 25, like we simulate summer. And after I put it 18 to 18 degrees, and with light, I make a hole in my bag so oxygen get in. Here they start to go out also. Mm-hmm. Those ones are quite big already. You have to pick them, take them to the other tent. The change of temperature, the change of oxygen, and light as well. There's 3 signals together. It means it's time to make mushrooms. Actually, they like light. Everybody thinks mushrooms don't like light, but actually it's just because of the button mushroom. Because in the past, you know, when you grow mushrooms in a cave, they understood that the temperature, as we told, temperature is quite stable all over the year, but there's no light. You know, in the past there was no LED, no electricity. Candle was pretty expensive, so they tried plenty of different species of mushrooms, and inshallah they found the button mushrooms who can survive without light. That's the reason why we have this button growing in the caves for centuries.
These spaces are structured in a similar way to this hypothetical cave conceptualized for button mushrooms. The conditions of the space in which the mushrooms are grown are more important than any specific architectural type that mushrooms may occupy. These spaces can be broken down as the laboratory, the growing chamber, the fruiting chamber, and supporting spaces. Each of these spaces have descriptions much like you could describe mushrooms. We can talk about the spore colors, the gills, the pores, the caps, but we can also talk spatially about light, temperature, humidity, sterility, and so on. Mushroom cultivation in Floyd's experience is an urban phenomenon. People in the countryside are less interested. They forage.
Yeah, definitely. Countryside people, they don't care so much. It's crazy. I had 2, 3 clients around the groceries, and they did it for half year, and they didn't sold it so well, I think, actually. And people here, they have the mushrooms from the wild, so
Yeah.
they do their foraging twice a year, and after they don't care so much about mushrooms.
When foraging in nature, you and I seek out wild mushrooms. As a parallel process for an urban environment, we propose the action of foraging for spaces instead. So we asked ourselves, how could we forage for spaces instead of foraging for mushrooms? How could the act of growing mushrooms become a premise for recycling space? Much like the mushroom recycles all kinds of nutrients in nature, mycelium is the recycler of dead material. In the city, it can become a gentler recycler of excess space.
But in the mushroom, there's so many different things to do, That's the point to grow a mushroom underground is you have a steady temperature, like 15 to 18, and mushroom really like this temperature because it's the false temperatures. But in winter, I have to heat my tents, and summer I have to cool my tents, so it's quite energy consuming. If you are underground, it's cool because you don't have to think about it.
In and around the city context, we find empty spaces that are temperate for human activity, but unused for whatever reason. These larger spaces could be used to grow mushrooms. In foraging these spaces, we interact with the urban context to grow food for the urban dweller. We have a new kind of foraging, urban foraging.
Would you move if someone just gave you a parking lot in Lausanne and say, make mushrooms? Would you move, and how would that look for you?
Yeah, I would love to go. No, for sure. I love to work here because I'm in the wild, If you go out, there's just the forest, not much around. So it's cool compared to working surrounded by concrete.
Yeah.
So it's a bit less sexy, for sure. But for running the facility and everything would be so much easier. Yeah, but there are 2 reasons. Once, you want to have a total control of the humidity, temperature, everything. And second, you have to protect the place you are against the humidity, because 95% of humidity in a house, you just kill the house. You start to have mold in every corner of the walls. It's disaster. So, or you can modify the place and to put really like fake walls, aluminium, or you can do a room into the room. But it's all hard wood or soft room, whatever. You need to put this in packaging.
Vacant spaces can form near dense occupation too. For example, at EPFL we find corners, hallways, and stairs without occupants, tempered for occupants. We can imagine happy mushrooms dwelling at the bottom of the stairs. In fact, we tried to do just that.
They grow and they multiply also. They multiply 1,000-fold in 2 weeks. And from the grain you put in the wood, and then boom, it starts like a shotgun. The only thing, it's quite sensible to contamination, so you non-stop having to decontaminate, sterilize. So this is the little drawback of the mushroom growing. It's not like plants, you put your seed, boom, it goes out.
This mushroom represents more than a simple delicacy for the taste buds. It asks, can we find new ways of thinking for spaces and their use? What is a taxonomy of a space? How would you forage for it? Can we interact with these spaces in ways that allow us to include more non-humans into our ecosystems during the Anthropocene? How can we plan for symbiotic relationships with the non-human? Annette Singh's Mushroom at the End of the World and other teachings may be a start to understanding these questions.
And common sense is going to come around, I hope, which is that, we cannot live without other species. It's just not possible.
What if, by acknowledging our similarities and coming closer, we can develop new relations to mushrooms in the built environment that mirror our relationship in the forest?
Yeah, life is a fight anyways, but I like to do things I don't know, so I used to change my job every 2-3 years. And I was interested by mushrooms, but just from far, because I saw so beautiful mushrooms, and I was a biologist in the field working on lynx or insects. And after mushroom disappeared from my life, and after I lived in China for 4 years, and again there was plenty of shops with so crazy cool mushrooms, things you never see here. And after I forgot about it, it went out of my life again. And after I saw a guy growing mushrooms on YouTube. Mm-hmm. In the end, I had plenty of mushrooms at home and giving mushrooms to friends and this and that. And I passed by here because it's a friend just living over there. Mm-hmm. And I asked the landlord, it's a super cool place, I would love to grow mushroom there. I said, what a luck, the guy here is leaving next month. So, would you like the place? He said, I was not thinking about doing commercial about it, but yeah, why not? And it happened like this, that's life, things happen.
Just like mushrooms.
Well, no, it was 1 million, it was one chance of one over a billion maybe. Would have been something totally different.
Our intention is to affirm this life, not to bring order out of chaos, nor to suggest improvements in creation, but simply to wake up to the very life we're living, which is so excellent once one gets one's mind and one's desires out of its way and lets it act of its own accord